survived, and were anxious that the family shouldn't be ignored, that we should continue at least part of our history.
How did you get from Israel to here? And when?
I lived in Israel from 39 to 47, and my sister, who lived in Montreal, sent me some affidavit to come to. I took pre-med, and I had a certificate, an entrance certificate to the London University, and McGill University admitted me to second year, and I studied pre-med at McGill. But what I wanted to tell you about the reunion, it was very emotional because I hadn't heard their voices for 9 years. I left as a practically kid and came back as an adult. And it was very strange to hear their voices.
Now, Sherry and Herbert, you have a connection. Can you explain that?
Well, we all have a connection, I think, in that the Jerry connection?
Yeah, the Jerry.
Okay, so what I found out today was that my mother Ann's brother, Jerry Greenberg, who was a pharmacist in New Rochelle, met Herbert many years ago because he's a pharmacist who was living in Scarsdale. And so they went to conventions together and knew one another for quite a time. And unfortunately, Herbert New York since 1970, but the rest of the family was not apprised of their connection or relationship. So it's very heartfelt for me at long last, after decades of missed opportunities, to connect with both Yurick and Herbert through my Aunt Isabel. I sit here very humbly in front of matriarchs and patriarchs, trying desperately to pass this on to generations to come.
Did your mother ever talk, or did Elsie ever talk about Poland at all?
Yeah, my grandmother and I had extended discussions about family and pogroms through the years, the loss of family, and her strong desire to nurture Aunt Isabel in the absence of her mom. Her sister, Rosie, who she was extremely close to, and Rosie had tuberculosis, went to Arizona to recoup, but when she came back here, unfortunately, she passed, and my grandmother woke up the next day and her hair was white.
Wow.
It traumatized her so to lose her sister, who she had come over from Europe with, I guess when they were like around 13, 14 years old, and came in through Canada.
Did Elsie meet Bobby in Canada?
Yes. Bobby, my grandfather, Samuel Greenberg, had family in Canada. His name really was Dingot, and he came by steamboat into Canada. My grandmother with Rosie came into Canada on the pretense of meeting an aunt and uncle who had been forwarded great fortune on their behalf. When they came, as the story went for me, the aunt and uncle, when they knocked on the door, refused knowing them and sent them marching. And they had no skill set, they did not know the language. So what happened was they ended up working in a laundry as seamstresses because they had been taught embroidery as young children. And my grandmother at that point met my grandfather, and they decided to come to the States and brought Rosie with them. And Aunt Isabel's mom, Aunt Rosie, met my Uncle Sidney and Brooks, and they had Aunt Isabel, and Rosie passed away when Isabel was 3.
I guess we'll stop it here.